Hey everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind podcast. Today is Friday, June 14th, 2024. I am Keith819, back again for Stevie, filling in today. He will be back on Tuesday, I believe. We have a monster 12-game MLB slate to break down, take us into the weekend. Joining me to help do that is Will Priester, ChiefjustICE06. Will, how are you doing today?
I'm good, man. Glad to come on and hang out with you a little bit, Keith. I don't think did we have a show together this week? I was trying to think. I feel like did we have crunch time one day earlier? Maybe that was last week. Man, time just starts meshing together with this baseball.
Yes, it does. You start to get into the grind of the summer, and all of the days kind of feel the same. But
yeah,
old slate here.
Sure.
How's your Thursday night going? I know you had a good call on Boston as a sneaky stack. I was on them a little bit too. They beat up on Aaronola a little bit. How's your slate going Thursday?
It's actually going pretty well. So I haven't looked at much, but when I saw the Boston score, I said, all right, we should let's hope some good things happen. But yeah, man, that was just Nola with lefties this season, Keith. I mean, I know we're gonna talk about this late, but it's really been a problem. Like 18% K rate to lefties. And I think they rolled out 7 or 8 lefties. It was just, I said, man, I think he's going to be in trouble. And it happened to work out this time. Nola could have easily went out there and got 10 Ks, and we look like idiots. But when the calls come together, it's good to get it right.
Yeah, I played a little bit of Nola too, just because, I mean, he historically is an elite pitcher. You never know when he's going to go out there and rack up the double-digit strikeouts. So I had a little bit of Nola, but I was definitely concerned when I saw that lineup and a bunch of lefties in there. But yeah, great call by you. What is going on with this Rodri Munoz guy? Like Tim and I talked about it on the podcast last night. Like his minor league numbers are terrible, and every time he gets a start in the majors, the dude does okay. Like
exactly, but it's like, doesn't this regression have to hit soon?
You would think so.
It's got to come. Like he can't keep being Houdini with this stuff. Like it's going to come back to get him. It's getting warmer too. Like it's going to come back to get him at some point.
But like the strikeouts, like he's not striking out anybody, even in AAA this season. He struck out nobody in AAA last season, but he comes up to the majors and all the strikeout stuff is there. I don't know if he's just working on one specific thing in the minors. He's not trying to generate strikeouts. Maybe he's solely working on fastball command or something like that while he's in the minors, but just weird stuff. How a guy is posting better numbers in the minors than he is in AAA, but it's baseball. Weird things happen, right?
Yeah, for sure. Every day something weird happens, Keith. Let's see what the Dodgers do tonight, because now I'm feeling like the Dodgers aren't going to score any runs. But I'm kidding. But you know how this goes. Like pretty good spot, and they score 2 runs, and you're like, it's baseball.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Big old slate to get into. What's up, YouTube? Thanks for tuning in live, guys. Got a bunch of people in the chat here already. Richie's in there, Derek, Sean, Zach, Gator Nation, Don Yeezy, D Johnson, Mr. Gerg. Lots of familiar faces in there. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us live. Big old 12-game slate to break down. Let's go ahead and jump right in. First game of the evening is the Philadelphia Phillies at the Baltimore Orioles. Good pitching matchup in this one. Baltimore minus 126 favorites. 7.5 is the run total. Ranger Suarez for the Phillies. Kyle Bradish for Baltimore. Ranger's been one of the best pitchers in baseball so far this season. Tough matchup here against Baltimore. What are we doing with him priced all the way up at 9,900?
Well, that is in fact the question, Keith. You know, do we want to play Ranger over some of these other guys? And, you know, quite frankly, I think the answer might be yes. And look, I don't think his strikeouts are going to materialize like a Chris Sale today. So let me be clear. Like, I don't think he's going to show Chris Sale strikeout numbers, but it's possible, right? I think the big thing for me was Ranger Suarez. Why he's in consideration for me in the top tier pitching. Like Reagans has a semi-tough matchup today against the Dodgers. You know, Peralta's something's going on. Like his past couple of games, Keith, pitch counts run up into 30 to 40 pitches in the first inning. Like I think the last game was a 34. The game before that, it was like 39 to 42. I can't remember the specific numbers, but I don't know if he's having trouble with command. Screwball's facing Houston, which I still trust Screwball. But my point is, I actually think Suarez, with the way he's pitched, keeping the walks down, keeping the ball on the ground, I think he's got a shot at a nice number. So I don't have him ranked ahead of Sale, but I do have him ranked ahead of most of the other 9 to 10K guys.
Yeah, there's some good names on this slate. Some pitchers who have done really well this season. Ranger has been among the best. I don't like the matchup against Baltimore, but I'm kind of with you. Everybody else has a little bit of a tougher matchup as well outside of Sale. I think he's going to be the clear top pitcher on this slate, but we're looking for a little bit of an ownership discount here on Suarez. I think people might be scared off by the matchup in Baltimore. Strikeouts are all the way up at 28% for Suarez. Walks are down at 5.6%. Good ground ball rate, like you mentioned. Everything checks out for the season that this guy's put together. I'm kind of with you. It's hard to pay up to this range twice on this slate, I think. I'm going to want a bunch of Sale, so we'll see where I land on Suarez. We'll see where the field lands on Suarez as well. But if he comes in low owned, I have interest even in a tougher matchup. Kyle Bradish on the other side has been striking people out like crazy this season. Strikeout rate all the way up to 34%. Leash has been a little bit shaky. Slight discount on him down to 9,100. Tough matchup for him as well against a Phillies offense that has been really strong this year. What are we doing with Kyle Bradish?
Well, I do think Bradish has upside for what it's worth. Like the strikeouts have been there. And it's not like, so here's the other thing too, Keith. It's not like he had an 18% K rate last season and then suddenly he spiked to 30. Like he's been in the 20s. So, we've seen guys kind of take that jump, for a season or two. I think at 9,100, he's tournament, like large field tournament. I don't think I play him in 3-entry max, single entry. But like if I start getting to 20 plus lineups, I think at that point he's in consideration. We already know Real Muto's out. Like their lineup is slightly watered down. Trey Turner's out. So, I think there will be some opportunities for him. I'm with you. Can he get through 6 innings mostly clean? That's the issue, and I don't know. It's possible. But I outside of the innings, I still think the strikeouts will be like we saw him against Tampa Bay, pile up a 30-plus fantasy point performance. I'm not expecting 30, but I think reasonably, if he's fairly clean here, it can be a bit more efficient, or he's going to need to be efficient. Let me say that. I think he ends up somewhere between 20 and 25. And at that point, once again, I'm in large field no matter what.
Yeah, I have interest as well. The command has been a little bit of an issue at times. Even when he was really good against the White Sox, he still had 4 walks in that game. He did not have any walks that last matchup against Tampa Bay. So it was interesting. I think we were on his strikeout prop against Tampa Bay. And he came out just striking everybody out. But then he got into the second inning, and it's just like his control completely escaped him. And he threw like 30 pitches in that second inning and didn't end up, or in the third inning rather, didn't end up making it out of the third, but looked like he was just going to cruise exactly like he did the next time out against Tampa Bay when he had 9 strikeouts in 6 innings clean and almost 35 DraftKings points, like you said. So big time upside. The matchup against Philly is a little concerning. Not huge strikeout rates in this Philly lineup against righties. Schwarber, of course, strikes out. Castellanos is going to strike out a little bit more than he has so far this season, I think. And then the change at catcher, like you mentioned, I think is pretty important. And no Trey Turner. So, like, Philly's not a high strikeout offense, but Bradish is an elite strikeout pitcher. I'm fully buying that he's a 30% strikeout rate pitcher. If you watch this guy pitch, he throws upper 90s. He just has nasty stuff. So I think he can somewhat sustain a 30% strikeout rate. At 9,100, tough matchup. I'm in as long as he's low owned. I like it for large field tournaments, like you said. How about bats in this game? Any interest in Philly bats against Bradish? I think you're on mute, Chief.
At least
Number
I got
one.
it out of the way early. I got it out of the way early. We're done with mutes for the rest of the night. What I was saying was, I don't think I'm going to play Philly because it's 12 games. Like if this was a 6-game slate, I have a totally different approach. With 12 games, I'm going to be okay with fading both of these offenses. And if they just happen to blow up, it's okay. Hopefully the team I stat wins. But I think both of these pitchers are good enough to limit offensive upside, especially Suarez. Like even if Suarez doesn't get the strikeouts, like he can absolutely limit the Baltimore offense today. So I'm fading this game from a offensive perspective.
Yeah, I think I am too. I'm more interested in Philly than I am in Baltimore. Like you said, Suarez can keep the ball on the ground, even if he's not getting the strikeouts. Yeah. His walk rate is really good this season as well. So not a pitcher that I like to pick on at all with the form that he's been in. I will be out on Baltimore bats, even though I think Baltimore is one of the best offenses in baseball. Philly, they're priced up. I don't mind chasing home runs against Bradish. He can be prone to home runs. But Philly is priced up as well. It's a monster slate, like you said. I don't think that I necessarily need to try to pick on a good pitcher just to find a 5K home run when I have so many other options on this slate. I will say David Dahl is still cheap. Castellanos is still cheap. So if you're looking for a home run, I'd probably go to something like that rather than going up to the obvious guys like Harper and Schwarber. Just because they're expensive. Get a cheaper home run is what I'd be hunting for. No stacks for me either side here, though. Next game on the slate, we've got the Cleveland Guardians at the Toronto Blue Jays. Logan Allen gets the ball for the Guardians. Kevin Gausman going for the Blue Jays. He's a minus 130 favorite here. 8.5 is the run total in the game. Any interest here in Logan Allen? He is cheap down at 6,500 against these Blue Jays.
No. I can't do it.
Yeah, they're tempting us a little bit with the price, but Toronto just doesn't strike out. So I'm with you. I don't see the upside here. There is an upside pitcher in this 7K range, we'll call it. That we're going to talk about a little bit later. I don't think we need Logan Allen on this slate. Kevin Gausman coming off was it a complete game shutout? His last one. He was excellent in his last outing. Tough matchup for him against the Guardians. Has been a bit of a up and down season for Gausman.
Oh God.
Tough matchup against Cleveland, but 8,500 is the price tag. Any interest?
Keith, I can't do it. Here's why. Like it has been up and down, but here's what has rung true. Against the bad teams, he's been good. Against the good teams, he's somewhat been bad. Like, okay, look, he opened up the season like slightly hurt, so he kind of had to work his way back. But as you can see, and I'm doing this for a reason. Tampa Bay opened the season. We've seen this season. Tampa Bay hasn't really turned their offense on yet, and it may not be coming, Keith. But had a reasonable start here. For the third. And once again, this is early on. Open, then comes in with the Yankees, who have been a stellar team, gets a beat down. Faced Colorado, caught a beat down. Faced the Yankees again. 17 fantasy points. Faced Kansas City. He was okay. Good game against the Dodgers, good game against Washington. Minnesota, high-powered offense. Not like, generally speaking, like I said, against the bad teams, he's been fine. Against the good teams, he hasn't produced. And I'm not saying Cleveland is a 10-run offense, generally speaking, but they're low strikeouts and they're pesky and they're going to cause problems. At 8,500, if this is Kevin Gausman from last year, I'm all in. I can't play this year's version of Kevin Gausman with this many pitchers on the slate, knowing that I like some other guys. I can't do it.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. Cleveland is not an offense I like to pick on. They just don't strike out enough. They're very pesky, like you said. Quan is back off the IL now, adding another really low strikeout bat to this lineup. We know what Jose Ramirez is capable of. Josh Naylor's been awesome this year. David Fry has taken a huge step forward. I'm actually scared of this Cleveland offense. Where last season, sure, they made a ton of contact, but we weren't necessarily afraid of them outside of Jose Ramirez. They have had a couple guys take a step forward. Cleveland's a legitimately good offense now at this point. With Gausman's struggles up to this point in the season, I think I'm with you. Even at a discount, I think Gausman's a more talented pitcher and deserves to be priced above $9K on most slates. But this matchup is just not something I'm interested on a large slate. So unless he's like 4% owned, then maybe I take some shots in tournaments. But assuming that he has 10 to 15% ownership, I think I'm just out on Gausman today. How about Cleveland bets against him? You can try stacking or finding a home run here.
Yeah, I think it's just home run hunting with them. Like, obviously, J-Ram, you can play him. Naylor, like, listen, people talk about J-Ram, Keith, but Naylor is really the power guy from the left side with this team. Not saying that J-Ram doesn't have power, so I don't want anybody to mistake what I'm saying, but, like, Naylor is the power bat from the left side, and Fry is the power bat, in my opinion, from the right side of the plate. And Jose Ram is just kind of, like, good on both sides, but he's a switch hitter. But I think Naylor, for me, getting a discount off of J-Ram, Naylor at 4,700, where J-Ram is 62, that'd be my power bet that I'm hunting for today. So that's what I would do. Not saying I wouldn't play J-Ram, but I think that the discount you're getting with Naylor is definitely worth the savings, I think. So I like him a ton.
Yeah, I like the Naylor call a lot. I like the idea of not paying up to the elite tier against Gausman has struggled, but he's still an above average starter. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
So I like saving a little bit of money to try to find that home run. Good call there. How about Toronto here against Logan Allen?
So, Keith, I don't know, and I know you probably know this about me because I've said it 1,000 times. I just can't get this Toronto offense right. Like, this is like this is my DFS thorn in the side every year, Keith. I mean, they come out there in this good spot with Logan Allen, and Logan Allen's just going to pitch 8 innings today of shutout baseball, 10 strikeouts. I'm really exaggerating, but realistically, this offense should get going there at home, Keith. Logan Allen is not in the upper echelon of pitching, right? The strikeouts aren't anywhere near where they should be to face a low strikeout offense such as this. And I think this is a full stack team. I think you go 5 deep. I've been talking about George Springer, and yeah, I know like he's been sporadic, but at 3,800, man, I still think there's tons of upside for him. Varsho, they've been batting. You know, at one point they were batting Danny Jansen in the 2-hole. I mean, there's a lot of backs here. Vlad, obviously. Bo Bichette, I wish he was hitting better. It hadn't been great this season, but my larger point is there's enough pieces here to put together a really quality stack where Vlad, I think, at this point is the only person over at 5K or above. So they're pretty affordable. I like Toronto. This is a good spot for them against Allen. I'm probably going to play them, fully expecting, Keith, them to score 0 runs today.
I'm with you. We're going to ride together because I don't like playing Toronto either. They don't have a ton of power throughout, at least they haven't this year, against left-handed pitching. And you look at some of these names and you feel like they should have a ton of power against left-handed pitching. But if you look underneath the hood at Logan Allen, I'm looking at a 38% fly ball rate and almost a 10% barrel rate. Those are numbers that can lead to power for sure. So I have interest in Toronto. I think they're very fairly priced. Schneider might be my favorite play here at 4,500. He's been outstanding. So is Danny Jansen at 4,600. The fly ball rate should help Vlad and Bo Bichette, who have both been just hitting the ball into the ground too much. Springer is really cheap, like you mentioned. Justin Turner has been really good against lefties this season. He's been bad against righties, but he's been good against lefties. Even IKF at 3,300, I don't mind against the lefty. It would only be in a stack. Definitely don't play him as a one-off. But if this Toronto team goes nuts, I could see Kiner Falefa getting there at a cheap price tag. So I'm with you. I fully expect to be disappointed as well, but this is a good spot for Toronto. I'm going to have some Toronto stacks.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, moving it along here, we've got the San Diego Padres at the New York Mets. -118 favorites are the Padres. 8 is the run total. Matt Waldron going for San Diego. Sean Manaea going for the Mets. Any interest here in Waldron?
So I have slight interest in Waldron, Keith, because of the slight savings, but I think there's still some upside here. Now, once again, I understand that the Mets are also not a high strikeout offense, but I've seen Waldron be fairly consistent, Keith. Like if you look over his season, like every pitcher, every pitcher, no matter how good you are, it's going to have a spot where they give up 5 runs. It's just not going to work that day. It's for whatever reason. It's just location's bad, whatever. They're in their head. But if you look at Waldron over the course of the season, Keith, consistently hovering in the 20 to 25 range, 18 to 22 range at 8K, 8,100 to be exact. And he's got some strikeout upside. And we even saw in this Arizona game, Keith, only 4 strikeouts, but limited the run damage. And if you look over the last few weeks, last few starts, he's really been limiting the run damage. Now, look, he's had some softer matchups. I still consider Arizona an okay matchup. Angels probably a little soft. Miami probably a little soft. Cincinnati's a high power, high strikeout team, but they've got a lot of power. Atlanta, like right now, I consider them a fairly soft matchup with with the Acuna injury. And they're still kind of piecing together. They got Kalenic and all these random guys batting at the bottom of the order now. But just look at the performances. He's been pretty consistent. I like him against the Mets. The Mets is the good part for pitching. And I think he can squeeze out 20 fantasy points here. I don't think he's going for 30 today, Keith. I don't think this is one of those spots. But I think 20, I'll give him 18 to 22 fantasy points. I think he can get there. And so I'm okay with it at that price.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I mean, the Mets just got shut down by Munoz. Of course, we can play some Matt Waldron here. Waldron's been good this season, consistent, like you mentioned as well. The strikeouts are up, right at league average, 23% on the season. Yeah, he's been a solid pitcher all season long. So 8,100, I think, is a fair price tag. I agree. A little bit of concern about the upside against the Mets, but he's been going 6-7 innings deep into games, in the mid 90s on the pitch count. So I'm perfectly fine with that at 8,100. Sean Manaea on the other side, getting a discount here at 6,200. Tough matchup against the Padres. Any interest here in Sean Manaea?
I don't think I'm going to do it, Keith. I've got kind of a threshold for cheap pitching today, and I think we're probably going to be interested in 1 or 2 of the same guys. And I just don't think I need Manaea against a really low strikeout Padres team that I know we think they're gutless, but they've been playing better. And I don't want to risk it with Manaea here at 6,200.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same spot. The only reason you play Manaea is for strikeouts. He walks too many guys. He has been better lately. I'll give him that. He doesn't always go deep into games. Like he only threw 81 pitches last time out against Philly. And I know he got beat up a little bit, but 105 the time before that. If I knew he was going to get 95 to 100 pitches, maybe I'd have an interest here. I'm not certain that he's going to get that.
I highly doubt it. Yeah.
And like you said, San Diego's been really good here recently. They're now a top 10 offense in baseball, and they haven't struck out at all season. Even when they were struggling, they weren't striking out. But Machado's back now healthy. Tatis has been on an absolute roll.
I mean,
I don't know if he still has that hitting game. You still have that like 20-something game hitting streak going? I know as of yesterday
he did. He does. Yeah.
Yep. Just a tough spot here for Manaea. And I agree. I think there's a couple of other cheap pitchers. I will say Manaea is the cheapest of the bunch, I think. And maybe there's a guy in the 5K you could consider. But I think of a guy that we know is throwing baseballs for sure. Manaea is the cheapest of the bunch. So if you absolutely need the salary, like if I was choosing between Logan Allen and Manaea, I would probably go Manaea. But it would only be for price. I'm not seeking him out at all.
Yeah.
How about San Diego bats against him?
Yeah, listen, I'm in on San Diego, man. You talked about you talked about Tatis. They're continuing to hit the ball well. Profar's been having a good season. Could they please bat Ha-Seong Kim in a top 5 spot today? Like, can we
especially against the lefty, man?
Yeah, like
especially against the lefty.
I mean, he's been in the 7 hole, and I've still been playing him in the San Diego stats. But I mean, with Profar, a little banged up, right? And he couldn't crack the lineup today. But if he sits, I mean, even if he plays, come on, Mr. Manager, can we get Ha-Seong Kim a little higher in this order. I think he's a really good play today. Even if he's in the 6 or 7 hole, I'm still going to play him for what it's worth. But I just think I think we could get the bump up today against the lefty. Cronenworth has been good. Also, I know it's lefty, but Cronenworth has been good. And then obviously Luis Arias, he just hits the ball, off anybody. But there's just limited upside. Like he's going to need to hit like 3 singles and 3 RBIs and a walk to get there. I think he's a little bit too expensive for my blood today. But if I'm building San Diego stacks, I think I still get him in there.
Yeah, I'm into this San Diego stack as well. I think Tatis and Machado are elite options. They're both under 6K. Probably a little bit of a discount there. Love the Ha-Seong Kim call. Somebody I absolutely love playing against lefties. Wish he hit higher in the order. Even if he's in the 7th hole, I'm with you. He's still in the stack for me. Profar's been incredible. If he's back in that lineup, I'll be playing him. Great call by Don Yeezy in the chat. Solano has been a nice pickup for this team. Has been hitting lefties well throughout his career, really. Not a ton of power from that guy, but in a stack, I certainly don't hate that call. At 3,100, third base and first base eligible. We think of those as power positions generally, but that hasn't necessarily been the case most of this year. So Solano at 3,100 is certainly fine. Manaea has had the walk rate under control in his last couple of outings, but he's up almost 10% walks on the season. So I'm definitely not afraid to attack Manaea. Mets bats on the other side against Waldron.
I think I'm going to take the fade, man. We may get a home run or 2 out of this, but I don't think so, Keith. I don't think they're going to rattle off a lot of runs here. Once again, if he gives up 1 or 2 runs, so what? Like that's not gonna break me, especially if it's not the long ball. So I'm okay leaving the Mets on the shelf and just keeping my Waldron and Padres exposure.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. This offense is so frustrating. I will say they've started to play better. I had a ton of them on Thursday night, though. Did not work out.
Man,
I don't hate it. Like it's such a large slate. I just don't think I need to do it. If it was a smaller slate, I might have interest here. But on a big slate, Waldron's been above average. I think I'm out on the Mets as well. Next game on the docket here, we have the Tampa Bay Rays at Chiefs Atlanta Braves. Massive favorites are the Braves at -196. 8.5 is the run total in the game. Zach Littell going for the Rays. Chris Sale going for the Braves. The reason they are massive favorites in this spot. Let's start here with Littell. Any interest against the Braves?
I just don't think there's enough upside. And I'm saying that knowing, Keith, that I literally just watched Jake Irvin and all these guys like mow this team down. I think he had 6 Ks through like 3 innings today, something stupid, Keith. And I'm sitting there like, what are we doing? Now, we won the game. Don't get me wrong. We were up like 3-0. But, I mean, still the strikeouts have been there against this team. But I don't think Zach's got enough upside at 8K. No way I'm playing him today.
I feel that pain in your voice as a Cubs fan who just watched his team get mowed down by Taj Bradley in his 10 strikeouts.
I mean, and Taj took 7 innings, which is like something he never does. Taj never goes that deep.
Littell, I'm kind of with you. Like 8K is a fair price. I agree that Atlanta has taken a step back offensively, even aside from the Acuna injury. Just guys like Austin Riley haven't been as good this season. Sean Murphy's been dealing with injuries. So I agree. It's not the offense we expected. I still don't think I want to take a shot on Littell at 8K. It's a fair price. It wouldn't surprise me if he did okay. But we're talking about below average strikeouts. He does have an elite walk rate and a decent leash, but it's just too big of a slate. I will chase strikeouts elsewhere.
Yeah,
with my salary dollars.
Oakland, we play him against the White Sox. Yeah, we play him against those teams. Detroit. I'm not playing him against the Braves.
Agree. All right, let's talk about somebody who's been one of the best pitchers in baseball here. Chris Sale, not scared of this matchup against the Rays. Highest priced pitcher on the slate, in my opinion, as he should be. He's the top option for me. How about for you?
Oh yeah, man, no doubt about it. I mean, he had one blip on the radar, Keith, against Oakland when
Oakland of
we
all
were
teams.
all. I mean, when the whole world was
Yeah.
probably playing Chris Sale that day, and of course he lets us down when the whole world is on him. I don't think this is a spot where everybody's just going to be jamming him in, but I do think he's still going to get a nice amount of ownership even on this slate, and I think it's warranted. I mean, outside of that Oakland blip, I mean, we've pretty much seen 30 fantasy points almost every start for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The last 7 starts, he's been 27 fantasy points or higher outside of the Oakland start. Like this price is warranted. And I mean, even if he gets 28 fantasy points today, that's enough. Even at 10-5, I think he's one of the best pitchers on the slate, or the best pitcher on the slate for sure, in terms of combination of upside and leash, Key, because now we're even seeing him going over 100 pitches. Now, I'm not saying he's going to like 108, but we've seen the 102, 103. If he's at 62 thirds at 98 pitches, they're going to let him pitch this last out to see if he can get it. Love the leash, love the strikeout upside. He's been pitching well, or way above average this season. I think he's the best pitcher on the slate. Got to get him in.
Yep, I agree with everything you said. Don't have anything else to add there. I'm out on Tampa Bay bats completely against them. If they go off like Oakland did and they beat me, I'll just move on to the next slate.
There you go.
How about Atlanta against Littell?
Yeah, I'm fine with Olsen. I'm actually fine with this offense. Like, look, man, there's still some cheap pieces here, and we've seen Littell struggle. So, once again, I'm not saying I'm going to be loading up on the Atlanta offense, but I think they've still warranted getting played. Like you said, the offense hasn't been as explosive as last year, Keith. But we're still winning baseball games. We still got Albies. We still got Olsen. I know Riley hasn't been as good. I'm going to attribute that to this injury he had kind of early in the season, and perhaps at some point it's going to turn. We've got Duvall there, and I'm not expecting Duvall to just go postal today. But my point is we've got enough big bats and salary relief guys to really make the stack work. So I will have some Atlanta stacks on this slate also.
Yeah, I will as well. I really like Harris and the price at 4,500 there. Olsen's been getting hot here recently. I would like him at 5,500. Of course, you can play Ozuna and Albies in any matchup. I'm not sure. I've been chasing the Riley and Murphy breakout ever since they came off the IL. Maybe they're just not quite healthy yet, but I still believe in the talent there. They're both really good hitters. I'm not going to give up on them. I would be fine with either of those guys in my stack as well. Even Kelnick down at the bottom, I'm okay in this matchup. Littell below average strikeouts. That's generally been Kelnick's biggest issue is the strikeouts. So don't mind him at a cheap price tag. Next game on the slate here, we've got the Detroit Tigers at the Houston Astros. Tariq Skubal going for the Tigers, Hunter Brown going for the Astros. We have a straight pick 'em here. I was a little bit surprised to see the line here. I know Houston's probably the better team, but man, Tariq Skubal has been incredible. 7.5 run total here. Any interest here in Skubal with a really tough matchup against Houston?
I do. And so here's the deal with Skubal, Keith. If Chris Sale's at 20% today, 25%, Skubal might be at like 5. Do you get like I'm not expecting the field to play Skubal over Sale today. And so in my opinion, Skubal is probably the best tournament pitcher on this slate. Like, no doubt about it. I mean, we've seen him handle any good team that's been thrown at him, Keith, and he's come out unscathed mostly. He's been fine. I mean, Milwaukee's been a really good team this season, especially they've got a whole lot of lefties, right? And have been giving tons of pitchers problems. 6 2/3, 5 hits, 10 strikeouts. Texas, 6 strikeouts. Pittsburgh, 8 strikeouts. Kansas City's also been good. Now, he got touched up in that game, still put up 10 fantasy points, 6 strikeouts. Arizona, 6 strikeouts, 6 innings, barely got hit, 28 fantasy points. My larger point, even against the Yankees. Now, the Yankees have been giving good pitchers problems, Keith. 6 innings, 12 strikeouts in that game. Keith Skubal has been fantastic, and I'm not fading him. And I usually fade pitchers against Houston, but I trust Skubal to get it done against this team today, man. Once again, I think he's the best tournament pitcher on the slate because I don't think anybody's going to play him, especially not over Chris Sale.
I love this call. I think Chris Sale is one of the best pitchers in baseball, and I think Tariq Skubal is right there in that conversation. This is not new stuff, what we're seeing from him. This breakout started last season. Before his injury, he was incredible, and he came back, and he has looked every bit the part. He's the top 5 pitcher in baseball for my money. And when we're talking about guys like that, matchup just does not matter. I'm with you. I don't hardly ever play pitchers against Houston in DFS because they have the lowest strikeout rate in baseball. I'm going to play some Tariq Skubal today just because I think he can win in any matchup. He's that good. I was shocked to see this line at Pick'em. That's one of the bets that I have written down here. Detroit first 5, Detroit money line, whatever you want, however you want to play it. I don't think Skubal should ever be a Pick'em. He should be favored unless he's facing maybe if he was facing Chris Sale, it should be a Pick'em. Facing Hunter Brown, I don't think he should be a Pick'em. And Hunter Brown's a really good pitcher too. He's starting to figure it out. So let's go ahead and talk about Hunter Brown. He's down at 7,200 matchup against Detroit here. How are we feeling about Hunter Brown today?
So Keith, we talked about why we didn't want to play some of these other pitchers, these other cheap guys. Hunter Brown is one of the main reasons. At this point, he should be 7,200. First of all, Hunter Brown probably should be 8,200 at this point, and he's not. And so I think this is a slight misprice. Detroit, their offense has been better, but they are not in any way, shape, or form elite, Keith. Now they have improved, but even more recently, within the last 2 to 3 months or months, last month or two, sorry, we've seen them strike out a bit more. And so Hunter Brown at 7,200, I mean, we saw him have a nice game against the Angels, a nice game against Minnesota, a really good game against Seattle, which everybody does. And I think Detroit is right in line with some of these starts, Keith, where this isn't an overpowering offense. And Hunter Brown has always had the strikeout stuff. Can he have better control, right? The walks is what was killing Hunter Brown. The strikeouts have been there. And what have we seen here? Last game, he did pile up the walks, but he semi got them under control here recently. If he can keep himself to 2 walks or less, he can dominate this matchup. 7,200, give me all the Hunter Brown you can handle.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. He is too cheap for this matchup. 7 strikeouts in each of his last 3 starts. 2 of those starts, it was 1 walk or less. 4 against the Angels last time out. That he kind of regressed a little bit there, but he's going to land somewhere in between, I think. I don't foresee him as a 10% walk guy. I think he's going to improve on that as he gets deeper into the season. And the strikeouts have always been there, like you mentioned. So he's rounded into form. I think we're getting a discount because it took him so long to get into form this season. But this is a good spot for him. He's too cheap. I'm right there with you. Any interest in hoping he regresses back to the guy we saw earlier and playing some Detroit bats here?
No. Okay. Let me say this. I don't mind one-off Detroit for what it's worth. Which Kerry Carpenter's not, he's out, but I don't mind a one-off Riley Green. He's a little bit expensive, but that's just power hunting. Generally speaking, I'm not playing anyone from the Detroit Tigers.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I don't have any interest in stacking, even if his control goes haywire. Brown has the strikeout stuff to really avoid getting beat up, or at least now that he's in better form, I think he does. Gearling is a guy who's been pretty solid this season. I don't mind a one-off shot on him at 3,800, third base eligibility, but no stacks for me. I don't think either of us have any interest in Houston bats. I'm not trying to pick on Skubal.
Yeah, and this is probably one of the first times I'm just all out on Houston. I'm just not playing anyone. Yeah. I think Skubal's that good, and the numbers suggest he's that good. So no reason to try to pile up on him today.
Yep, completely agree. All right, moving it on. We've got the Oakland A's at the Minnesota Twins in the next one. Minnesota minus 178 favorite here. 8.5 is the run total in the game. Mitch Spence going for Oakland. Simeon Woods Richardson for the Twins. Any interest here in Mitch Spence at 6,700?
No.
Nor do I. He's shown some flashes of upside. But this Minnesota offense is really starting to click. They're getting healthier. They've got Buxton back in there. They've got Royce Lewis back in there. I'm kind of scared of this Minnesota offense. I'm not playing Mitch Spence. Simeon Woods Richardson is a guy that I just have not figured out this season. I've been stacking against him all year. I took his strikeout under a couple of times, and he just continues to beat me. Now I might have some interest here, but I'm terrified of the guy. I don't know what to do with him. So you tell me, what are we doing with Simeon Woods Richardson?
Keith, listen. So I get this. So I think I took him under strikeouts in the Houston matchup. I think it was. I think he was at 3.5, and I still took the under. I was like, nah, he's gonna get. And
we both wrote that up on Scores and Odds. Yep.
Yeah, I'm like, what is happening? And he didn't really make it out of the innings because he started getting hit, and they pulled him at like 4 1/3. But my larger point is he's been a mixed bag, but he's facing Oakland. And so facing Oakland at 7,200, he's nowhere near, I think, ahead of Hunter Brown. But Keith, in the event, we are going to get to some offense here, that you just kind of want to play big bats and just see what happens. Like Richardson is a gateway to that. Like just playing him and Brown together, you can play any bat that you want. And so I think that's where he's useful, where you don't want to play Brown, and there's one other guy, one other guy that's cheap-ish that I think we can consider. Hopefully we aren't throwing up in our mouths when we talk about it, but I think there's one other guy, and but out of this trio of 7K guys, I think he's in consideration.
Yeah, I mean, you have to like him in a matchup against Oakland, especially with his last 2 outings. Like 6 strikeouts against Houston is just downright impressive.
Yeah.
Like we just talked about how they don't strike out, and I don't know, he racked up 6 somehow. Like I said, I haven't been able to figure him out all season. I try to stack against him, it doesn't work. I try to fade him with a strikeout under, it doesn't work. I think you have to have some interest here in Oakland. That said, I fully expect Oakland to go out here and put up 6 runs on him or something like that. But I do have interest here because of the matchup and because of the recent form. That said, let's talk about some Oakland bats because I might have some interest in playing both sides of this one.
Yeah, Keith, man, we're in lockstep today. This is getting scary. I'm with you 100%. This is the one guy on this slate in terms of pitching that I'm going to play, where as much as I'm playing him, you better believe I'm going to have some Oakland stacks because I'm not going to let this guy beat me up here. I do think the upside is there, but I also think the downside is there. And so, Oakland is a team, they're cheap enough. I think I use them as an alternate stack on the other side of some really big teams, to help me get access to some big pitching, especially when I'm building lineups. If I can pull off a Sale Screwball combo, I will need Oakland to get it done. And so, a couple of these bats, I think, are definitely viable. And obviously, man, everybody's been, Langeliers has shown some nice power this season in a few games. And so he's definitely a guy that would be on my list at catcher. And I'd even play him as a one-off, Keith. Like, even if I don't play Oakland full stack, Langlier's one-off at catcher, a little bit more expensive than the cheap guys. I think it's a really good play today.
Yeah, I have interest in one-offs here too. Like I love the mini stack call, but even one-offs because they're out of Oakland into Minnesota, so nice ballpark upgrade. There's power in this Oakland lineup. Like there's some nice ISOs, and they play in one of the worst home run parks in all of baseball. I love Rooker at 4,400. I love the Langeliers call at 4,200. I've been playing a ton of Tyler Soderstrom lately. He's still 2,300. He is my favorite punt on the entire slate. I wouldn't even call him a punt. Like I legitimately think Tyler Soderstrom can hit 2 home runs in this spot. I don't mind Seth Brown for really cheap. Zach Geloff is okay. JJ Bleday is okay. Like there's some talent now in this Oakland lineup. There's going to be strikeouts, no doubt about it, which is part of the reason we have interest in SWR. But there's some power bats here. We can take some shots. I like them as cheap one-offs. I think you could stack them up as a 3-man which is probably how I will play them most. Or you could full stack them too, but on a 12-game slate, it's hard to see the upside for them. Like you probably need them to go 8 to 10 runs in that on a 12-game slate. I don't know if they have that type of upside, but they could certainly go for 6 or 7. I don't think that's without question. Minnesota, we talked about them heating up a little bit. Let's talk about some Minnesota bats here against Spence.
Yeah, man, love this team. Kepler, Castro. Willie Castro actually led off, was the leadoff bat, I think, on the previous slate, Keith. So if he's going to continue to lead off, I mean, he's going to continue to get played. And I was playing him even in the middle of the order, but I leading off, I love that. Carlos Correa still in that 4K range, like him. Obviously, Royce Lewis is 5,800. He's their big spin right now because of all of the power that he's been showing. And let me just clear this up. This didn't just start this season. Like even in the playoffs last year, when you saw them going to Houston, you saw some of that power continue to show up game to game to game. And so this is a real thing for him. And so I like him a ton. I'll mention Santana, like if you're stacking and you just need a cheap bat, like he's cheap enough. And I mean, even Santana, we've seen him start to really flash some nice numbers. Like he's got double-digit fantasy points in 1, 2, 3 of the last 5, and I think 1, 2, 3, maybe 6 of the last 10 or something like that. Like double-digit fantasy points at 3,700. That's fantastic. Jeffers has been probably Keith at the end of the season. If DraftKings sends out that reporting about who you play the most, I can assure you it's Ryan Jeffers. I was on nice. Jeffers in the 3K range, and I've just taken that train ride all the way up, and I'm continuing to play him at 4,300. I mean, he's just been showing tons of power to both sides, Keith. Like a lot of people don't know, he's 200 ISO plus. I think to both sides of the plate at this point. It's incredible. So one of my favorite plays this season has been Mr. Jeffers, and I will be playing him today.
Isn't it so nice when you're in early on a guy and the price comes up and the field's like, I just can't pay that price for him anymore, but you're already so far ahead on it and you're just like 4,300, no problem. Give him to me.
Yeah.
So love that, man. Great stuff. Byron Buxton is heating up. I need to get that out here. 4 straight games with a hit for him. It's been a rough season for Byron Buxton, but we know this guy is super talented. He's gonna be there by the end of the season. 3,900 is a ridiculous price tag for this guy's talent level. I love this Minnesota stack. Kepler's too cheap. Correa is cheap. Jeffers. Lewis is the only one that's priced appropriately, and he might have as much upside as anybody in baseball, so don't be afraid to play him. The lefty pinch hit stuff is still a risk. Like Larnach got lifted late on Thursday night. Kirilloff, if he's in there, has some pinch hit risk. So be careful of those guys, but they're cheap enough where I still don't mind them in a stack. But yeah, Minnesota is one of my favorite stacks on the slate as well. Next game here, we've got the Cincinnati Reds at the Milwaukee Brewers. Another great pitching matchup here. Milwaukee minus 138 favorites. 7.5 is the total in the game. Hunter Green going for the Reds. Freddie Peralta going for the Brewers. Milwaukee's been a really solid offense this season. Hunter Green down to 8,300. Any interest here?
So, Keith, when I said I didn't want to play Littell, why in the world is Zach Littell priced anywhere near Hunter Green on this slate? That makes no sense. Now, once again, I understand that Milwaukee's been good, but Hunter Green has actually been pretty good in his own right. Now, we haven't seen the 10 to 12 strikeout game yet, and I don't think it's going to happen today, Keith. But we've been talking about consistency a little bit on this slate, or at least we did when we talked about Waldron. And Hunter Green's actually been fairly consistent. Now he's also consistently giving up hits and he's consistently giving up runs, but he's not really getting that full beat down, right? Like the
home runs have come way down.
Yeah, and so when you look at him, I mean, he's pretty much of course you can see it on DraftKings. Let me see what he's averaging. He's averaging 18 fantasy points, but most games you see he's in that 20 to 25 range. And then he has these games where, like the Cubs, where he's at 7 because he got touched up. But even against the Dodgers, that's a great offense. 21 fantasy points in back-to-back starts, Keith, which tells me he basically saw them twice within a 5 to 6 day period and still was able to be very productive. Hunter Green's pitching well this season. He might not be top 5 right now, but in terms of the season, he's pitching well. I trust him even against a really nice Milwaukee team at 8,300. I like him today a lot.
Yeah, I like him a lot too. I don't want to downplay the Milwaukee matchup because Milwaukee's been a top 5 offense against right-handed pitching. They are pesky. They run on you as well. Hunter Green is prone to giving up stolen bases, and there's enough power in this lineup that they're scary. I will say Hunter Green has made improvements in the home run rate. Like he has not given up near as many home runs this season. He's maybe sacrificed a little strikeouts to do that. Like he's not a 30% guy anymore. He's down at 26%. But if he's going to stop giving up 2-3 home runs to start, I'm okay with that sacrifice, especially when we're getting a discount on him at 8,300. Yeah. So I'm with you. It's a tough matchup. And I can
assure you his pitching staff is okay with it too. Sacrificed about 4% in strikeouts to bring his home run to fly ball down. I'll take it.
Yep, absolutely. I'm interested, even though Milwaukee's a tough matchup. It's a ballpark upgrade for Hunter Green as well. Obviously, he pitches in Cincinnati, which is a horrible park for his fly ball style. And Milwaukee's still a decent, like it's middle of the road, where Cincinnati's one of the best home run parks in baseball. So nice park upgrade for him as well. We've got to talk about Freddie Peralta. You kind of alluded to it. The walks have been an issue. The pitch count's been getting away from him. He's not going deep into games here recently. He's priced all the way up at 9,600. I like the matchup here against Cincinnati. There's a lot of strikeouts in this Cincinnati lineup. How are we feeling about Freddie Peralta's form here, and how are we feeling about him at 9,600?
So I think I'm going to play him because this Cincinnati offense, while they can't score runs, Keith, and they can hit, they still have these strikeouts. The strikeouts are there. Like as much as Ellie can score 30 fantasy points, if we were back in the old days, Keith, where we were getting negative points for strikeouts and negative points for stolen bases and that type of scoring system, Ellie would have as many negative fantasy point games as he's had positive fantasy point games. My point is this team, even some of their best hitters, are going to strike out. Freddie Peralta still hasn't really had a strikeout problem over this stretch. Now, Detroit, it was just rough, man. Like 94 pitches through 3 1/3 innings. He's having a control problem. Now, if he can fix his control, the strikeouts are going to be there. I mean, even against the White Sox, the pitch count got ran up, but he still picked up 7 strikeouts. The Cubs, he didn't give up a lot of hits in that game, 11 strikeouts. Miami, 7 strikeouts. Houston, low strikeout team, 6 strikeouts. I think the strikeouts are there, Keith. Can he complete the innings pitched? And that's my concern, but I'm still going to play him today because I think the upside is there. And if this doesn't work today, Keith, then I'm going under the hood. We're going to do a super deep, like I'm just going to have to look at every single thing and see if we can figure out what is happening with Freddie Peralta. But I like him today. 2 really good young pitchers facing off against each other. Hopefully it's a pitcher's duel, and we make some money.
Yeah, I like him too. Even when he's not walking people, it's still the command that's giving him problems. Like he's just not quite hitting his spots. Even when he's not racking up walks, the walks finally got him in that start against Detroit. But I watched the start against the Cubs, obviously, and I had to strike out over against the White Sox. So I watched every pitch of that start as well. He's just not quite putting the fastball where he wants it to be. And it was early in his career. That was a huge problem for him. He started to fix that a little bit. Yeah. He's been better at that, but it's starting to rear its head again here in this season. So I've got my eye on it, but I think there's enough strikeout upside here. I still have interest in Peralta for sure. Bats on the other side here. Any Reds against Peralta?
I mean, maybe you go home run hunting here, Keith, but that's about it. Like, I don't think we need to be actively targeting him for such a large slate. But if you're saying, well, a guy, we talked about guys that have been hot. Candelario's been heating up here recently. Like, if you want to play a one-off Candelario, like, I'm okay with it. But generally speaking, if you want a one-off Ellie, obviously, be my guest. Like, I'm not going to try to convince you out of that. Like, he could walk Ellie, and Ellie could steal 2 bases, and Ellie hit his fantasy number. Like, so I'm all for that. But I don't think we need to be stacking Cincinnati.
Yeah, I agree. Like, even though he struggled to command, like he hasn't walked a ton of guys outside of that last start. So it's not a stack for me either. Ellie is the interesting one. Derek in chat asked if he's better from the left or the right. He'll be hitting from his strong side of the plate here against Freddie. He's much better as a left-handed hitter than he is as a right-handed hitter. So I like Ellie, and I love your call there. Like, even if he doesn't hit a home run, he could still get on and steal 2 bases, and bang, you have as many points as a home run. So you can play Ellie. Yep.
Sorry, random question. Did you have Ellie that night? It felt like he stole like 20 bases. I think he stole 4 or 5 on the Dodgers that night. I mean, it was incredible to watch, really. Like, just watch him play. But that night, I mean, he was a slate breaker. Every time he got on, he was stealing. It was unbelievable.
It was incredible to watch. I did not have him, and I believe Cardi called Ellie the best tournament play on the slate on that. Like, they were facing somebody great.
Yeah.
Like, I want to say it was Yamamoto or someone like that the matchup was against.
I think it was, now that you mentioned it. I think it was.
And Cardi was like, yeah, Ellie's the best tournament play on the slate, and Cardi absolutely nailed that call.
Glass now. That's who it was. It was Glass now.
It was Glass now, even worse than Yamamoto. Yes, it was Glass now. You're exactly right.
Yes. Thank you, Michael. Thank you.
Yep. Any interest in Brewers bats here against Green?
No. I take that back. One-offs again. Like some of these pitchers that have high upside, like Yelich. I don't mind Yelich because why? Well, 100 Green's a fly ball guy. Yelich is a ground ball guy, 5,700, and he's another guy that will run, right? So these types of plays, I'm going to be perfectly fine with today. I still trust Hunter Green. I think he's a little bit too cheap, but I still trust some of these Baltimore lefties to get it done. Not Baltimore, Milwaukee, excuse me.
Yeah, I like the Yelich call a good amount. I will say Green has historically struggled with right-handed power in his career as well. Hoskins is a guy that jumps off at 4,100 and Adames at 4,500. I don't mind chasing home runs from either of those guys. I'm not completely sold that Green has just solved his home run issue, so you could certainly try to find a home run here. All right, Coors Field on the slate. Pittsburgh Pirates at the Colorado Rockies. I did not have a total in this one. I think it's because there might be some concern around who's starting for Pittsburgh. I have Ryan Feltner going for the Rockies. I believe it's going to be Luis Ortiz for Pittsburgh. I'm not sure if that's been officially confirmed yet. So keep an eye on that. But that's what we have listed on RotoGrinders right now. That's what DraftKings, where I'm looking at right now, has. So we're going to break this down as if Luis Ortiz is getting the start for Pittsburgh. 5,700 in Coors. Any interest here?
Nope.
Yeah, just cannot do it. Ryan, even against Colorado, like Ortiz, just, I don't know. He has a big arm, electric stuff. He's pitched mostly out of the bullpen. I don't think he's going very deep in this game. I don't know. I'm looking up what he's done out of the bullpen. Yeah, 19% strikeout rate, 10.7% walks. Like, I don't see that translating well to the rotation in Coors Field. So no thanks on that. Ryan Feltner on the other side, all the way down at 5,000.
Nope.
Below average strikeout rate. We're in Coors Field. We're on a massive slate. I don't think we need to mess with it. Let's talk about the hitters here. Talk to me about the Pirates.
Keith, I think people will play this game today. Like, I mean, you kind of got two bad pitchers or below average pitchers on both sides. So Keith, I know you know this about me by now. I don't play Coors Field typically when it's like going to be popular, because I always feel like you can get plenty of production from other places. So personally, I'm not going to be playing Coors, but I'm this is a good matchup for both of these teams. I'm not going to consciously tell anyone to not take Pittsburgh bats against Ryan Feltner. And I mean, what better way to bring in a Coors series than to go ahead and fire up Brian Reynolds at 4,700? Like, this is a great spot for him. I mean, he should have a field day here. So, once again, I don't plan on playing Coors, but I definitely think that you need to be playing some Brian Reynolds. And even you're getting cheap catcher alert here with Yasmani Grandal at 3,600. Like, if you want to squeeze him into that stack as well, be our guest. Grandal hasn't been nearly as good as he's been in the past, but in Coors Field, for such a cheap catcher, I think you roll the dice here.
Yeah, I like Pittsburgh. I hope they're not too low owned. I think they will be the more popular side of Coors for sure, just because they're the better offense. I don't think either pitcher is particularly strong, but a low strikeout pitcher. O'Neal Cruz looks really good. Love the Brian Reynolds call. Jack Sawinski is a guy with power that I like to play. He is still cheap. Just kind of depends on what the lineup looks like. I like the Grandal call as well. Triolo's been decent. He's still really cheap. If Rowdy Tellez is in that lineup, he's all the way down at 3,200. Henry Davis just recently got called up. Another cheap catcher if Grandal's not in there. They've also DH'd Davis a little bit, and he has some experience in the outfield. I know he's struggled in the majors a ton, but this is a big-time prospect against a low strikeout pitcher. So I would play some Henry Davis if he's in that lineup. On the Colorado side, I'm curious to see where their ownership comes in, because people don't generally play Colorado. They're just like, oh, they're terrible. I don't care about Coors. I don't want to play them. But if they're going to be low owned in the spot against Ortiz, I'm going to have some exposure to Colorado for sure.
Yeah, man. And check this out. I almost feel like Colorado isn't even fun anymore. And I haven't been to a game, but man, I feel like even when they weren't winning as many games, when they had Blackman and Arenado there, they at least felt like a fun team. Like now they don't even feel like a fun team. Remember David Dahl had come up, and well, they were just a fun team. And now this isn't a fun team, Keith. Like the Chris Bryant era has been awful for the Rockies. I know that's the sidebar. I'm saying that to say this: Blackman is still there. They've still got some of these young pieces, like McMahon, and I think they're fine in this spot, Keith. Against Ortiz, I think you play him. But man, has this organization been rough, to say the least.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, the White Sox are probably in the worst position overall. Maybe they won't be after they trade. Why am I losing it? The lefty that pitched today. Well, I can't think of his name. Yeah, Crochet. Thank you. The White Sox at least have some pieces to trade though in Robert and Crochet. Like, who can Colorado trade? McMahon might return something. Tovar, put some respect on Tovar's name, says LSU in chat. I agree. Tovar looks like a nice piece. Outside of that, there's not much here. Maybe
Chris Bryant needs to take a pay cut and go to a contender at this point.
Yeah.
Jeez,
it's not fun saying these names in this lineup. Ryan McMahon is probably the safest. Tovar, I like the Tovar call. It's not fun, but I'll have some exposure against a high walk pitcher in Coors Field. There could be a lot of traffic on the bases.
Absolutely.
All right. Next, we have the White Sox at the Arizona Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks are minus 184 favorites in this one. 9 total, biggest total on the slate outside of Coors, I'm assuming. Like I said, we don't have a total in Coors, but 9 is the biggest total we have out there right now. Chris Flexen going for the White Sox, Ryan Nelson going for the D-backs. So you can see why it's a 9 total. Any interest in either of these pitchers?
No. Jesus, man. Dumpster dive central, and I'm not playing.
None for me either. I don't see, even against the White Sox, like you cannot even possibly make a case for me on why I should play Ryan Nelson. I just don't see any skills there whatsoever. He's 5,500 against the White Sox, and I still just have zero interest.
Same here, man.
I'm sure that it I don't know. Talk to me about some White Sox bats here. You dumpster diving for Sox bats against Nelson.
I keep playing Gavin Sheets. Not gonna stop today, especially not against Mr. Nelson. So Sheets will get a few roster entries from me. Luis Robert, he's gonna get some roster spots for me. I don't plan on just loading up on White Sox. I still think this team is bad, Keith, but I do think there are some opportunities that will present themselves. Excuse me, and today feels like one of those opportunities. So those handful of players against Nelson, I will for sure be playing.
Yeah, I don't mind a cheap 3-man here. Nelson just doesn't strike anybody out. Like I said, I don't see any skills there. So Robert's totally fine. Spending up a little bit. Give me Sheets for sure. Andrew Vaughn is fine. DeJong, if you want to chase a home run. Even Nelson might be able to strike out DeJong, though. Benintendi has had an awful season, but he's cheap, so I don't mind that. Nicky
Lopez, when he was with Boston, and people thought Benintendi was going to be really good, and he could still be really good long term. But when he was with Boston, I mean, man, we thought, okay, they've got something. Boy, does he not look the same.
Yeah, it's been a rough slide for him. Even with Boston after his rookie season, he kind of the decline started, and he just hasn't stopped sliding since. Arizona on the other side is one of the top stacks on the slate for me. Flexen is frustrating to roster. He gives up a ton of contact, a ton of hard contact, but for some reason he just doesn't seem to get blown up. I'm going to be chasing it again here on this large slate just because I don't think he's any good. How about you? You have interest in the Diamondbacks?
I do. And what flexing is starting to remind me of, Keith, is Homer Bailey as he got to the end of his career. Like,
great comp.
You just kept stacking against Homer Bailey, and you're like, why aren't these teams scoring runs? Like, he's not this good. And that's how I feel about flexing, but I'm still going to do it. Like, Arizona's, like I said, they're a reasonable team, and there's enough power in this line to get it done. Obviously, Jock Jam's probably going to be a top bat on the slate. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Keith, and I'm pulling numbers from my database here. It is crazy. We look at all these numbers all year. I think Jock Jams has got like a 194 ISO somewhere up in there against right-handed pitching. And so that's fantastic at 4,400. I think he's one of the best players on the slate for me, especially facing Flexer.
Yeah, right there with you. I love Jock on Thursday. I haven't even checked to see what Arizona's doing on Thursday night, but I'm going right back to him, regardless of what they did. Love Jock Peterson. Corbin Carroll's starting to hit finally. Glad to see that.
Yep.
I do know Christian Walker has homered twice. I saw that alert come through. So love this spot for Christian Walker.
This from like looking at the scores. So I actually like this sometimes with this big slate when I've got a sweat. Cause I do have a little sweat going on. Nice. I'm not looking at lineups. I'm doing analysis and hanging out with the people, and I get to check everything later, and hopefully the money's rolling in.
Let's hope so. All right, let's go ahead and move on. We both love Arizona. Flexen can't keep getting away with it. Everything says he's gonna get hammered here. Next game on the slate: Kansas City Royals at the Los Angeles Dodgers. Cole Reagan's going for the Royals. Gavin Stone going for the Dodgers, and he's a -164 favorite. Another money line I'm not sure I quite understand here. Give some respect to Cole Reagan's, man. I know it's the Dodgers, but 8.5 run total here. What are we doing? This is a conundrum for me. Reagan's is my boy. Like, I've been on this guy since he burst onto the scene. 9,400 against the Dodgers. Any interest?
Keith, I must say, Reagan's has put a few dollars in our pockets.
Yeah.
On, multiple occasions, starting last season. Like, DFS wise, prop wise, you name it. Right? Like, he's come through for us a lot. I think we play him here, Keith. I don't think he's getting any ownership today. He's 9,400. And once again, we're talking about upside. Like, Cole Reagan's can get 8 strikeouts against the Dodgers. Like, the Dodgers aren't invincible. As we see, if you're not, listening to us live, our good friend of the show, Derek, is talking about right now the Dodgers cannot get a hit. And just because teams are good, they're not invincible. Just like Spencer Strider when he was pitching before he got hurt, he's going to get 9 strikeouts what felt like every game, but then he's going to have a game where he's just going to get touched up. Same thing happened to Sale against Oakland. No offense or no pitcher is untouchable for a season. And if so, they're an alien. Cole Reagan's, I like him. I think we play him today, Keith. I do think Screwball is the best tournament pitcher on the slate because I think his ownership is probably going to be even lower. But I think Reagan's against the Dodgers is also in that same type of category. And at 9,400, man, we've seen his upside. He needs to go in some lineups.
I will say the Dodgers don't strike out against left-handed pitching. 19% strikeout rate against left-handed pitching. I dare the sports books to hang a 5.5 line out there for us on Cole Reagan's because I'll be running to the window.
Keith, I think that's what we're going to get.
I think
Believe
so too.
it or not, I think we're getting 5.5 today.
I hope so because I'm going to be on it. This start, it reminds me of the Houston start earlier in the year, and I think the line was 4.5 in that one. And he just barely got there with 5. So I think like 6 strikeouts is the right number here. If the books hang a 5.5, I'll be on it. Anything above that, it's going to be risky. Not to say you can't strike out 9 Dodgers. It's just they've been really good at making contact against lefties. They don't have as much power against lefties though. So I still think Reagan's can go like 6 innings with 6 strikeouts here and be totally fine at 9,400. Question for you:
the run damage.
Freddie Peralta or Cole Reagan's? Tough one, right?
Oh man, I think. Listen, so okay. So Keith, here we go. I think this will make sense. In my heart, I want to go Cole Reagan's. In my head, I know Peralta's the right choice.
I think you're right. I think they're both going to be low owned, and they're both great tournament plays. But man, that's so close for me right now as we're just a first look.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'll definitely dive in more before we get up to lock tomorrow. But interesting game here. How about Gavin Stone on the other side here?
I don't think I need Gavin Stone today. That's my issue. Like I don't at 8,400. We talked about the 7K guys to be like Keith, and then I'm going to play Waldron over Stone. I'm going to play Green over Stone. So I don't think I need him, and that's why he's getting left out of the cold. He's been fine with what they're giving him. Like he's been productive, but I think the other guys just have more upside because I think their leash is longer, generally speaking, overall.
Yeah, it's the upside for me. 19% strikeout rate against a Royals offense that I think is pretty good, at least an average offense. I don't need to pay 8,400 for Gavin Stone. How about Royals bats against him? Any interest?
I mean, look, man, I think at this point we're playing Bobby Witt every day. Like, let me just say that Bobby Witt, Mookie Betts, like they're just certain guys that no matter what matchup, they just seem to get there. Like Bobby Witt, this team could have 0 runs scored and he's got like 20 fantasy points. You're like, how the world did he get 20 fantasy points? Well, he hit a double and stole a base. Nobody brought him home. Then they walked him. He stole 2 bases. Like he just finds ways, Keith, to be productive. So I think Bobby Witt needs to be played today. I think he's going to be fairly contrarian. Once again, end of the night too, Keith. People don't like playing the 10 o'clock bats on such a big slate. So I think he's going to be a really good play. And then in terms of the guy that I would maybe pick out to hit a home run outside of him, I think it's Vinny P for me in this spot. Vinny P at 4,800 has been showing nice power, this season versus righty. So I like him at 48, but I'm not stacking Kansas City.
Yeah, I don't mind a mini stack. If you want to add, like Witt is the clear priority, and that's the only reason I would consider the stack is just to play Witt and then maybe get him to bring some upside along with him. A guy like Vinny P, certainly. Sal Perez, you can always play. If Fermin's in there as a cheap catcher, I wouldn't hate that. Melendez is the other guy I generally like to play. He's got a little bit of pop. 3,300 there for him. But Stone's been pretty good. It's the strikeout upside is the only reason I'm really avoiding him today. But Kansas City, I think, is a solid enough offense that I might have some exposure. And I agree with you. Bobby Witt is the priority. Dodgers, one of the best offenses in baseball against a high strikeout pitcher in Cole Reagans. What are we doing with this?
Look, man, I don't really want to play the Dodgers today. I think I'm fading the Dodgers. If you want to play Mookie Betts, like I said, please, I'm not going to tell you to not play Mookie Betts, but I think generally speaking with the Dodgers overall, I'm not targeting them today against Reagans. I think both of these pieces kind of cancel each other out. So that's how I'm going to approach it.
Yeah, I'm not picking on Reagans either. I think even if he doesn't quite have the command, which we've seen a couple of times this season, the strikeout stuff is just so good. He can work himself out of jams. He rarely gets blown up. I know he had that Baltimore start early in the season or a month ago or whatever, where he got blown up, but that was just crazy bad luck. Not a guy that I see getting blown up very often, even against what might be the best offense in baseball. 2 more games left. We're almost home, Chief. Texas Rangers at Seattle Mariners. Minus 148 favorites are the Mariners. 7-run total in this game. Andrew Heaney going for the Rangers. Luis Castillo getting the start here for the Mariners after he was pushed back. Such a smart move by the Mariners. Did they win tonight? Throwing. Oh, they actually are down. Maybe it wasn't a smart move, but throwing a weaker pitcher out there against the White Sox to move Castillo back to your division rival. I thought that was sharp. If they end up losing to the White Sox, maybe not so much, but talk to me here about Andrew Heaney all the way down at 7,000 against the highest strikeout team in baseball.
Yeah, this was the guy, Keith, where I was saying, look, we might be thrown up in our mouths later, but I take the consideration against Seattle. Now, can he keep the ball in the yard? Can he not get touched up today? And if that's the case, the strikeouts will be there. He will have strikeouts today. And so that's why I think at 7K, I think we play him. Now, he doesn't make my single entry team. I don't think he doesn't make my 3-entry max. But if I'm getting to 20, he's going in. Anything 20 or more, he's going in.
I think you nailed that perfectly. 1 to 3 entry max, you're playing Hunter Brown at this price point. Anything beyond that, Andrew Heaney could strike out 9 guys here. So totally with you. It's gross. He gives up way too many fly balls. The walks can be a massive problem at times. But in this matchup against Seattle at this price, there's a lot of upside here. So totally with you. I'll have some Andrew Heaney as well. Might play some bats against him too. We'll see. You playing any Texas bats against Castillo?
I don't think so. Well, let me say this. I do want to see if Seager's back in the lineup, and it was just a precaution. They said, like, when they scratched him on Thursday. I was very disappointed about that. But if Seager makes the lineup, I'll probably take a shot on Seager. But outside of that, I'm not really playing too many Texas bats.
Yeah, on a big slate, I don't have. We didn't talk about Luis Castillo, did we? I think I skipped over him. Probably need to do that at 8,600.
Yeah, I think we play him here. Now, once again, Castillo's also that boat this season, Keith, where his strikeout rate has come down. I think he's gone from 27 to 24-ish%, if I'm not mistaken. And so, and that's shown in his fantasy production overall with some of the better teams. I do still consider Texas an average team. I don't think they're below average, and I don't think they're elite this season. But I do consider them an average team. And but I still, this is kind of my last straw with Castillo, though, Keith. This is it. If he doesn't get it done today or anything close to reasonable, then he's my next. I got to dig under the hood on to see what's going on. Him and Peralta are my two that I'm like really starting to track him.
Yeah, I will say if Seager's out of the lineup, that becomes a really interesting spot for Castillo, and I might take some shots that he's just okay. If Seager's in there, I think that's a huge threat to him for sure. So I love your Seager call. From the Texas bats standpoint, we've seen this guy be streaky throughout his career. Like, he'll have a couple 3-4 starts where he struggles, and then he just goes on a crazy run where he's lights out for the next 10 starts. So I think you got to take a couple of shots here. Texas offense has been down a little bit this season. A lot of it is injury related. But they've still had their fair share of issues as well. So I do have interest in Castillo. Texas bats, for me, I agree with the Seager call. I think he's a fantastic one-off, especially if Castillo just isn't quite right. I don't think I feel the need to stack Texas, though. Nate Lowe maybe as a cheap lefty one-off. That's about it for me on Texas. How about the Seattle side here against Heaney?
Man, Keith, this is... I view Heaney the way I view Simeon Woods Richardson. I'm playing him, but I also think being able to play some backs against him is good. Like Cal Raleigh, I don't hate him. Obviously, I don't hate Julio. I think any of these power righties could get to him in the right situation. So I don't think I think I stacked Seattle 4. I don't think I go past 4 with Seattle, but I don't think I fade them against Heaney. I think Heaney has a good game here, but Seattle could also, put up some runs. So once again, I like these power righties. I think they could be really good for us.
Yeah, it's high upside, high risk spot for Heaney, right? Seattle has plenty of strikeouts. They also have some power, though. Dylan Moore has had a scary amount of power against lefties the last 2 seasons. I was shocked when I was researching the Seattle bats again, who I forget who they played on Thursday, but Dylan Moore's ISO jumped out. It's up at like 250 against lefties since the beginning of last season. Mitch Garver is certainly a guy I don't mind playing. Even JP Crawford, lefty has been okay. His price is up there enough where I don't love him, but I wouldn't kick him out of a stack. Cal Raleigh, Julio, obviously always okay. Hopefully Julio can figure that out. Another one that I just don't know what's going on with him this season, but super talented hitter. I think he'll get it figured out, much like Buxton, eventually. And finally, we get to the last game of the night: Los Angeles Angels at San Francisco Giants. Did not see a total in this one yet either when I was opening it up pre-show. Tyler Anderson is going for the Angels. I assume it's because Spencer Howard is expected to pitch for the Giants. We have seen the Giants use an opener in Spencer Howard's long relief appearances here recently. So I imagine that's what's going on here and why we don't have a total in this game. Any interest in Tyler Anderson here against the Giants?
No, you just not enough upside.
Yeah, 16% strikeout rate. San Francisco is a middle of the road strikeout team. No thanks for me either. Spencer Howard, assuming that we get some confirmation that he's, if not starting, at least the bulk reliever here.
No, I don't think I need him today, man. He's not going to have enough upside either.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, we're living in that 7K range for our cheap pitchers today. Heaney has upside. We love Hunter Brown. You could even take some shots on Woods Richardson, I think. So a couple thousand more in salary, I think you get a lot more upside than somebody like Spencer Howard. How about bats here in this game? Let's start with the Angels.
Yeah, I'm not thrilled about the Angels either. I mean, maybe you take a one-off like with an Ohapi or something like that. Maybe you take a one-off with Willie Calhoun, but generally speaking, Keith, I'm not thrilled about firing up the Angels.
They've been so bad against righties. I just can't bring myself to do it. I can't. Yeah. If you want to find a home run, and it's not a good home run park either. So that's the other thing. Big ballpark downgrade in San Francisco. Tough spot for LA. If it wasn't a massive slate, I would start digging into Spencer Howard because I think he can have some success here. He just hasn't had the strikeouts in the majors is the only problem. And we've seen it multiple times. He's been given shots. He strikes out people in AAA, but he cannot translate it to the majors for whatever reason. So probably don't need it this slate. If I was picking out a bat that was my favorite, probably Joe Adell, just for cheap and that big time power. Maybe Taylor Ward. He's a little bit more expensive, but I don't know if I can buy what Kevin Pillar is doing. It's just been absolutely insane.
Yeah.
How about Giants bats? Any interest against Anderson?
Not really. Like when we say Anderson has limited upside, he's just like getting strikeouts, but he's not getting beat up. He's going 6 innings with 1 or 2 strikeouts, and you're not able to get to him. So, I mean, I'm not trying to attack Tyler Anderson on such a big slate.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm out on bats in this game pretty much. Just a tough park on a massive slate. All right, that'll do it for the breakdown. Let's go ahead and jump in and play the morning grind real quick. It's been a long one, massive 12-game slate. Appreciate everyone sticking with us, but we'll run through this real quick and go ahead and get on out of here for the weekend. Give me a pitcher under 8K for 6 strikeouts.
Oh man, give me my boy Hunter Brown, 7,200. A lot of options today too. A lot of options.
Yeah, Hunter Brown is certainly my favorite pick there as well. Completely agree with you there. I'll go Andrew Heaney. I think he's able to limit the damage and get it done against the highest strikeout team in baseball. Give me a pitcher over 8K to go under 15 DK points.
Look, man, I hope we're right here. When I say hope, give me Kevin Gausman. I think Cleveland's going to be too tough for him today.
Yeah, I figured that's where you're going. I like it. Cleveland is just a tough offense to get through. So I like that call a lot. I think Gavin Stone's a little bit pricey for his he just doesn't strike out enough guys. Kansas City is a solid enough offense. I think they can get to him a little bit. Or he just doesn't go deep enough in the game. So give me Gavin Stone for that one. How about somebody at home run over 4,000?
Yeah, man, we got a lot of options today. This is a tough one for me, Keith, because I like a lot of guys. Give me Fernando Tatis. He's been hot, man.
Love that. He has indeed been hot. I wrote this one down before the double dong tonight. Give me Christian Walker against Chris Flexen. Flexen just cannot keep getting away with this fly ball rate and this hard contact and keeping it in the park. So I like Christian Walker to get it done again. How about a hitter under 4K to get 2 hits?
I'm not going to take your guy because I think I know who your guy is. I could be wrong, but I think I know who he is. I talked about this guy on the last pod I was on, but I still think it's the right call here, Keith. Give me George Springer at 3,800 against Allen. I'm going back to the well here. I just think, man, at some point he's coming out of this slump, and it's going to be incredible.
I like that call. I think you think my guy is Byron Buxton.
Yes.
Yeah. That I do. I like that quite a bit. I actually had him written down. Donovan Solano is another guy that I really like. Don User pointed that out in the chat, and I like that as well. But I did originally have Buxton written down, so we'll stick with that. How about a stack to score 6 runs today?
Man, I think we got a lot of options here. If I'm going off the beaten path, give me Cleveland. I don't think Cleveland gets ownership. I'm telling you, I don't trust. Yeah. I don't trust him today. Give me Cleveland against Gausman.
Nobody's playing it. I love it. That's very similar to your Boston on Thursday night call. Aaron Nola's got some name value, and you were like, Boston's sneaky tonight. You nailed that one. I might have to make sure I have at least a Guardian stack on Friday here. Good call. Let's see. Where do I want to go? I want to go to the Diamondbacks. They're getting hot here. Corbin Carroll's starting to come around. I love this spot for them against Flexen.
Oh, yeah.
Any player props or pick 'em plays that you saw out there? There was nothing even loaded up before we started here.
I don't have anything. So I'm going to tell you what I was looking for. I was trying to see where Ranger Suarez and Bradish came in at strikeout wise, because I feel like they're both going to come in at 5.5 today. Those are my thoughts.
If Bradish is 5.5, I want that for sure.
Yeah, over. Exactly. Exactly. That's what I'm looking for.
I've got 2 interesting ones for you. I've got 3 interesting ones for you. Chris Sale, 7.5. I think that's the right number. But plus 120 on the over.
Yeah, get it in right now.
Yeah,
right
I like
now.
That.
Yeah,
I like that too. Hunter Brown, 5.5, minus 120 on the over.
Yep.
I'm in on that as well. And Tariq Skubal, this one's dicey.
6.5, I think.
It's 6.5, but it's plus 130. I got to dig into that one a little bit. I want to like it, but Houston is scary. But that one might be in play. The over 7.5 at plus money for Sale. That's a bet for me, and Hunter Brown over 5.5 is a bet for me as well. Any money line or over unders that were standing out to you?
Oh man, Keith. I mean, there were a couple, but here's the one to me that, and it's because of what I'm talking about. I don't see why Ranger Suarez and we're getting the Phillies at plus 110. I just look, man. I understand Baltimore's been good, and I know Bradish has been good, but Ranger Suarez has he's been fantastic. And so getting the Phillies money line against Bradish at plus 110, that feels wrong to me. And so I mean, at plus 110 with Suarez on the mound, I have to take it.
Yep, I like that. There were a couple others that I mentioned. Skubal as a pick'em is just crazy to me. Minus 108 is the juice, but it's equal on both sides. Yeah, Houston's the better team, but Skubal is like, Hunter Brown's been good, don't get me wrong, but Skubal is like top 3 pitcher in baseball this season. Like, go look at the numbers. It's insane. I don't think he should ever be a pick'em. Houston's offense is also banged up. No Kyle Tucker in that lineup. Like, I don't know. I think I'll be making a bet on the Detroit side on that one. And the other one is Cole Reagan's being a big dog. Like, Gavin Stone has gotten great results this year, but I don't know if he can keep it up. I believe in the Kansas City offense a little bit. I don't know. I don't like that one as much as I do the Skubal at even money. But I don't mind KC, and I don't have the plus number exactly in front of me, but the Dodgers are minus 164 favorites. So you're probably getting about plus 130, plus 125 coming back on KC. I don't mind that with Reagan's on the hill. Actually, I would take the first 5 money line there, and I'll tell you why. It's because KC's bullpen is atrocious. So don't bet the money line for KC, bet the first 5 money line. That's how I would back Reagan's today.
Yep.
All right. Call. I think that does it. Anything else you want to add here before we get out of here, Chief?
No, I had fun, Keith. I think this is a great show, and hopefully people got some insights, and hopefully we help some people make some money.
Yeah, man, it was a long one, but we got a great, fun slate here. Lots of good pitching, some good offenses as well. So should be a fun one to take us into the weekend. But appreciate everybody joining us. Stevie is out on Monday again. I believe it will be TJ and Will. We'll be back with you, I believe. And then it will be Stevie and I back for Tuesday. But Stevie almost back. Hope everything's going well there with the volleyball tournament. Good luck to him and his daughter there. We appreciate you joining us here. I hope everyone has a great weekend.